Hello Internet, and welcome to the DCOM review. Today, we'll be digging into one of my all-time favorites, Camp Rock. Here's the first thing to consider. Camp Rock actually isn't a musical. Say what? Now, I know that sounds strange, but it's actually true. A pure musical, like High School Musical and its sequels, has the music and performances interwoven into the story as a means for character development and moving the plot forward. Usually, the performances themselves could just as easily be replaced by characters talking things out, but the emphasis is on the musical numbers and the dances that accompany them, and then returning to a normal setting as if nothing had happened. Camp Rock, however, isn't like that. It's a movie about music, with performances as part of the narrative, and not just a way to advance it. With all that said, let's dive into the movie itself. Camp Rock revolves around Michi Torres, portrayed by Demi Lovato, who loves music and wants desperately to attend the ultimate musical sleepaway camp, Camp Rock. She's originally bummed because her parents just can't afford to send her to camp this year despite her constant pestering. But Mrs. Torres, portrayed by Wizards of Waverly Place mother Maria Canals Barrera, acquires a cooking job at the camp, which allows Michi to attend. Well, that was easy. So eventually we get to Camp Rock and we meet the rest of the main cast, including our movie mean girl Megan Martin as Tess Tyler, Allison Stoner as Caitlin, and, eventually, Joe Jonas, who's serving as a camp counselor here as a brilliant PR stunt to convey his character, Shane Gray, in a more positive light after recent transgressions. While Michi's exploring the camp, she decides to sing one of her original songs, assuming nobody is around. Shane literally stumbles upon the singing, but Michi exits before he can confront her. What he does know is that it's nothing like he's ever heard before, and finding that voice starts to consume him. We get a pretty forgettable musical number on the first night of camp, but the important thing in this scene is that Michi lies about her mother's occupation in order to fit in with the cool kids at camp. As you'd expect, this scene sets up a timer on the liar reveal scene that you know will eventually come up. But, for now, Michi will just serve as one of Tess Tyler's backup singers, which is even more hilarious considering how much success Demi Lovato has had since this movie compared to Megan Martin. So plenty of fun camp stuff happens, including classes and Tess's first performance. Then, Shane and Michi start to form something of a connection through music, talking, and a weird interpretation of canoeing. The interesting thing here is that Michi is influencing Shane on two different fronts. Shane still doesn't know that Michi was the voice he heard that is helping him to feel inspired again. That, and Michi is encouraging the new music he's making that's coming as a direct result of hearing her sing without her knowing that Shane heard her singing in the first place. It's a good mechanic that remains consistent throughout the movie and produces some really nice moments between the two leads all throughout the film, and it will pay great dividends both character-wise and musically near the movie's end. So, after a spaghetti scuffle between Tess and Caitlin, Caitlin is punished by being forced to help with kitchen work, but uh-oh, that's where Michi works! So after a few hilarious kitchen scenes, Caitlin does eventually figure out that Mrs. Torres' daughter and the kitchen help is in fact Michi. Because Caitlin is just an awesome character, she rightfully chastises Michi but doesn't rat her out, and at the pajama party that occurs next, they start to make up. So, Shane is on the search for the voice, Shane and Michi are getting along well, and Michi is starting to develop some real friends. And the other Joe Bros are on their way for a special performance. Nothing could go wrong, right? Right?
You serious?
Yeah, so the aforementioned liar reveal timer is just about up as Tess snoops around to find out that Michi's mother is not the president of Hot Tunes TV China, but, in fact, the camp cook. So, naturally, she picks the perfect time to rat out Michi. In the aftermath of one of my all-time favorite movie songs, Play My Music. No, really, I blasted this one on repeat back in 2008. So, in front of the camp, and God, and anyone else listening, Michi is called out by Tess as she has to admit her lie. This scene always hits hard no matter how many times I watch it. The movie transitions from such an emotional high to such a devastating low in a matter of moments. This naturally produces a bit of a falling out amongst some of the campers, but Shane is hit particularly hard, which I think leads to some of Joe's best acting between this scene and the preceding one where he gives an epic speech about the truth of music.
So here's some advice. It's not all about your image. None of it means anything unless people see who you really are. And your music has to be who you really are. It's gotta show how you feel. Or it doesn't mean anything.
What a great scene. But Unbeknownst to our heroes, however, is one more villainous scheme by Tess Tyler. On the eve of Final Jam, she frames Mitchie and Caitlin by planting her charm bracelet amongst their possessions. Brown is naturally put in a pretty tough position, so he really doesn't have much of a choice here, especially considering how Mitchie just got caught for lying a few days before.
I've got to ban you guys from the rest of camp activities until the end of Final Jam.
So, Final Jam finally starts, and we get 3 solid performances that do a neat job of tying together everything that the characters are going through. Hasta La Vista is a fun, high-energy song that fits with Ana Maria Perez de Tagle, Jordan Francis, and Roshan Fegan's characters as the more lighthearted comical ones. 2 Stars fills us in on Tessa's emotional state and how turbulent her relationship has been with her mother, which explains a great deal of her behavior, but, and let's be clear here, by no means excuses it. And Here I Am is an emotion-filled piece, which allows Peggy to actually show herself and be more than just Tessa's background singer in the aftermath of Tessa's falling out with her friends.
It's the end of Final Jam.
I was so hoping you'd catch on.
That's right! Due to the great art of loopholes, Demi gets her chance to perform. And, finally, we get to the penultimate song of the movie. This is real, this is me. This song works perfectly with the trajectory of the movie in terms of its musical composition as well as its delivery. Both the song and Mitchie start off low and soft, but then it explodes to a higher level once Mitchie gains the confidence to express herself in front of the audience. Lyrically, it also follows that same pattern, since revealing your true self is what the song is talking about. And then comes the duet, probably one of my favorite parts of the movie because of how it all comes together, not just musically, but as a definitive conclusion to the events that took place in the movie. Hearing Mitchie's song inspired Shane's song Gotta Find You, so it makes sense that the 2 songs could be seamlessly fused together into a single ballad. The entirety of the movie had been building up to this moment and it works out beautifully. So, Peggy wins Final Jam, Mitchie makes up with Tess and Shane, we get one more awesome song, and Camp Rock ends with the promise of seeing each other again next summer. And now, the characters. Demi Lovato does really well here as a young, impressionable Camp Rock rookie that desperately wants to fit in but doesn't think her talent and personality are enough to accomplish that, thus causing her to lie about her identity. This was her actual introduction into stardom, so it's kind of clever to go in that direction with a wet behind the ears Disney starlet. I do think her acting is actually better in the sequel, but that doesn't change the fact that this movie made me a Demi fan, and a Demi fan I will always be. Joe does well here as a spoiled brat of a musical star who never acts like so much of a douche that his character becomes unbearable. You always get the sense that his aforementioned troubles don't tell the whole story of the character of Shane Gray. In their limited appearances, Nick and Kevin Jonas are absolutely hilarious. As expected, the trio of real-life brothers work off each other really well and produce some of the movie's funniest scenes, in addition to giving a nice preview of what Jonas the TV show would be like, which, not surprisingly, I also love. I would have liked to have seen more of the Jonas brothers in this one, since they're all in the movie cover after all, but the scenes we do get are really good ones. Most of the other characters outside of Caitlin and Tess aren't given a whole lot to do other than be there and belt out a song or two. I think Alison Stoner as Caitlin is one of the better performances as a firm but friendly veteran of the camp who stands by Mitchie, even during the lowest of lows. Tess reminds me of the mean girl from Double Teamed with the same inattentive parent issues. I think it's handled a bit more subtly here, so it works better, and that last Tess song really humanizes a girl that would otherwise be pretty excruciating to watch. There's not too many standout performances here in reality, but I don't think this movie in particular relies too much on overall acting ability. So, how does Camp Rock hold up? Camp Rock is a unique movie because it really feels like the camp that it's trying to be. In a camp setting, yeah, you've got your planned activities and a general organized framework, but for the most part, it's a lot of hanging around and fun scenes, except with music in the mix. Most of the said scenes in between getting to Camp Rock and the Final Jam itself feel like they could really occur at any point, which is kind of what camp is all about. Not a complex story structure or an intense emotional character arc, but just some laid-back summer fun with a couple of scandals in the mix because, hey, that's camp. I will say that despite the fact that this movie isn't a musical, it does rely quite a bit on its music, insofar as to say that if you don't enjoy the music, it might be a little hard to get invested in this movie. The music is really good at knowing where the singers are in terms of mentality and emotion, and the way that the music changes in relation to how the characters and situations change is a great detail. In all, this movie is tons of fun with memorable tunes, a relatively memorable cast, and it's really easy to just pop in, lay back, and relax. Or you could just do what I do and air guitar to play my music. But for my money, it'll always be one of my all-time favorites, even though I can admit that there are definitely better DCOMs out there in terms of quality. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, sub, and share this video, it really helps, and comment with what DCOM I should tackle next. Until then!
BTW, your lip gloss is so not glossy anymore.